Hey everybody, thanks for joining us here on YouTube. If you like the video, make sure to mage hand us a thumbs up and subscribe to join our content guild. Also, leave a comment in that comment section down below and let us know if this episode inspired you or if you would have done it differently.
And don't forget to ring that bell so that the algorithm goblins notify you whenever we drop a new episode. You can also attune to us on your podcast platform of choice and check us out across the plains of social media.
Enjoy the episode!
I mean, if I can, I feel like I would look at the little dude in my arms and be like, make some kind of joke about come here often. Yeah.
All right, yeah. So come here often, woven together with the magic of your bardic traditions.
Yeah, I come here all the time to pay respects to my family. Yeah, I come here all the time. And he feels like I know where I am.
Welcome to Dungeon Busters, your Dungeons & Dragons actual play experiment. I'm Diego, a professional dungeon master and actor.
And I'm Michael, an actor and role-playing addict. Each episode, we summon a special guest who helps us give your game inspiration one encounter at a time. We don't just play D&D,
We put it to the test.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Dungeon Busters podcast. I'm here with my co-host, Diego.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you.
And we are joined by our special guest today, Bailey Savage, everybody.
Hello, my friends.
What's up?
I am thrilled and pleased to be here.
It's been a long time coming. Bailey came to our podcast release party dressed as the dragon from our logo.
Absolutely. Costume I already owned.
Yeah.
Had nothing to do with you.
We had a
actually.
whole name competition and everything, but I think from now on it's Bailey the Blue Dragon.
Yeah.
Right? That just that
It
rings true to
rings.
me.
It's got that fine alliteration.
I feel like that's very what
Plus
I'm
it goes
always meant to be.
along with the song Bailey the Blue Dragon.
So Bailey, what is your experience with Dungeons and Dragons?
Yeah, we're starting at ground zero. In fact, I don't know if you're popping my D&D cherry today. This is a first for me, but not because I haven't wanted to. I just have not ever been involved in I feel like I've been a peripheral person to a lot of people in my life who play D&D. It's just never been something that I have been like, can somebody sit and explain all the rules to me because I don't understand, and I didn't ever want to like disrupt a campaign. So I just have been a peripheral person.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever like obviously you've probably seen it in like movies, TV shows, like what is like your understanding of like the game?
Understanding of the idea of like role playing and fantasy. My little sister and my mom play like the World of Warcraft type of games, and so I'm like, okay, I understand the genre of the world, but other than that, I think the idea of rolling dice, how you get to point A to point there, that's not a compute for me. I have no idea what that means, but I like the idea of action adventure and also just kind of having a groundwork and then everybody playing off of that. I like that idea.
What's the highest value die you've ever rolled?
I don't know if I've ever touched a die beyond 6.
Yeah, just
okay.
Oh my gosh! Well, you're gonna touch all kinds of dice today, Bailey.
We're going way beyond.
What
the
a promise!
Yeah, this is a true immersion, which kind of ties into what we are talking about here today, which is Session 0. So folks who are listening might know that Session 0 is typically like the first meeting you have before you actually start playing the campaign. This is where you kind of get to know who else is going to be playing. Kind of sometimes you make your characters together. Sometimes you just kind of like theorize together or I don't know.
Yeah, we also talk about, for me, it's also talking about like, what are people's boundaries and like some safety stuff too of like, what is the game that people want to play? What is it for you? Like, is this... like, are you trying to get a specific maybe like artistic experience out of it, or is it just your fun casual game? I mean, there's a whole breadth of different reasons why people play D&D. So I think kind of checking in with everybody so that everyone can have a good time is really important.
I think that's a great like kind of thesis statement to what the Session 0 is. It is like a group check-in to make sure that everyone is playing on the same page, playing the same game. So often I see it like on Reddit or on Twitter or TikTok, about like people who like, you know, a DM who wants to run like a serious, like low magic campaign. And then the party like rolls up at session 1 with, you know, these like meme characters, which are fun. Like, you know, if you're looking to play a meme campaign, but sometimes that's where like the wires can get crossed. And then, you know, you're 3 sessions deep into a game that you might not really enjoy because it wasn't what you thought it was going to be.
That makes
when
sense.
You set out.
I think that's what I thought, that it was like more of like the DM just was like, this is my game and you will play my game. And that it was like way less collaborative.
Yeah. Which I think is important as a DM. If you like, this is the type of campaign I want, that you've got players who are into that. Because if you're wanting to like, you don't want to be stuck as a DM creating something that you aren't excited about, because then you're creating a lot of content.
Yeah, and a lot of times
you're
like
not having fun with.
These are your friends. Like you might not be getting any compensation outside, you know, the good memories and the time spent together, and maybe a pizza,
which is priceless.
You can't put a price on that.
Yeah,
MasterCard.
But you got to make sure, especially I would say like with a gritty campaign, you want to make sure your players are like, yeah, I want to have a gritty campaign because it's just got a certain vibe to it.
What is like the vibe that you imagine, Bailey, for like a D&D game? Just like first, like what does it look like when you imagine?
Well, I think what is fun as a person who is not, I like am a fantasy lover from afar. Like I grew up very passionate about Lord of the Rings and the Star Wars, all the big franchises, like that kind of stuff. And so I love an epic adventure, like on a big kind of grand scale. I feel like that's kind of more the thing. If I'm going to play, I want to play something crazy.
Yeah. Very cool.
Awesome. I love that. Well, why don't we head over to the Dungeon Busters lab and find out exactly how we will be testing session 0. And we are now in the Dungeon Busters lab.
Yeah.
We really went somewhere. You really took me into a different place.
Yeah. We went to the lab. We went down the
elevator. It just moves this entire room.
I'm picturing
down.
it, you know, the second Scooby-Doo movie, Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed.
Yes.
Yeah.
With, I'd name all of them, but I won't.
Yeah.
But, there's a good lab in that. That's why I'm picturing this.
Once our production level's higher, we'll get lights that like make it look like we're going down.
Yeah. Just put a couple here there.
Yeah.
You give me the motion sickness too that it takes in the elevator.
Yeah. I'll build an actual endless dungeon under Chicago. That'd be cool. Well, thanks y'all so much. We're here in the Dungeon Busters lab, and what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be running a session 0. So we're all kind of be basically playing ourselves, but we've kind of have a little bit of a table to roll on here to give us a little bit more variety and, you know, add some more of unknown factors here. So just for the folks at home to know, I made up 3 tables, D6 tables. The first table is expectations, something you need in the game. And those are romance subplots, high fantasy setting, long-term campaign, political intrigue, all in-person games. Number 6, official Wizards of the Coast content only. I also included a section for deal breakers, something you cannot abide by in the game. Gaming under the influence, metagaming, intra-character romance, meaningless character death, phobias, digital dice. And we also put in a desires table here, something you hope is in the game, something aspirational. This could be something like you want more puzzles in the game, or you want there to be player versus player combat, or playing as a homebrew race you found online. Maybe it could be you want a gritty realism campaign, or you want to kill God. It could even just be having in-game drugs, whatever it is, like kind of your fantasy is. So we've used these as kind of a jumping off point to kind of inspire these like fictionalized versions of ourselves. I don't know. Like, do we want to share this, or do we want to just to like kind of come out and see how it plays out in the?
Let's see how. I think see how it plays out. We'll start kind of at the top. I looked at
that list and I was like, okay, I know like half of these things.
So awesome. We'll keep our expectations, deal breakers, and desires close to the chest, but rest assured that we all have one here of what we want this game to be and what we're hoping this game will look like. So great. Let's go ahead and get started. Hey guys, thank y'all so much for hanging out with me here today. I know we've been wanting to play like D&D together for a long time, so it's kind of cool that we're finally finding the time. Our schedules are lighting up that we can get together.
Begging for it.
I know,
Please
right?
let me play.
Yes, I want to get you in here, especially Bailey, because you know you haven't played before, and I think this would be a really great way to you get your feet wet with D&D.
Yeah, we always love having new players. It's always
and I always
fun,
love to get my
time.
feet wet. So
wet feet galore. So I guess I just wanted to start out, since I'll be DMing this one, and we'll only have 2 players in this campaign that we're running. I just want to introduce the world. This is a homebrew world that I've been working on kind of off and on for the past year and a half through a variety of games. So this is kind of where I imagine our campaign is going to take place. So without further ado, Noemtlok is an ancient world where great civilizations have reached the zenith of achievement, fallen into ruin, and faded into memory and hearsay many times over. In the current age, trade is bustling, small towns have grown into mighty cities, and burgeoning empires test the power they wield. Magic is a known element from humble hamlets to the densest cities, though the most powerful of artifacts lay in ancient ruins or the collections of devoted scholars. A small village would be lucky to have a hedge mage come through every month or so to provide feats of magical assistance, perhaps for a price. The world is dangerous, and venturing off the civilized path can quickly put you face to face with the creatures and monsters that call the unknown home. So yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking of for where we would be playing with the campaign.
That was so cool. You just said the most epic words, and anyways,
what is the?
You really took me somewhere. Where are we? Can you say it again?
Yeah, say it again and spell it for us too.
Noemtlok. Noemtloc.
Incredible.
Thank you.
Oh, I love it. I'm already taking notes. That's how into it I am already.
But yeah, so I was kind of thinking that my thoughts were that we would start out in a town called Kraigfort, which is right out.
Kraigfort is such a good name. Kraigfort.
Yeah, it's a town that it has a fort built into a crag, and over the years the pronunciation changed until now people just call it
a crag.
Yeah,
Kraigfort is Kraigfort.
Kraigfort.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, and I was thinking this would be a town outside of Ervo-Duryan, which is one of the bigger cities in one of the empires that are kind of one of the big players in this setting.
Do you have a little more geography for my brain? Is this give me a more topographical? Is this a forest, a mountain type of
So Ervo-Duryan, I've always imagined it as it's the easternmost crown jewel of the Creatorian Empire. So it's on the western edge of the of a mountain range. I haven't thought of a name for that mountain range yet, but if anyone has any ideas, love to take them. But yeah, it's kind of where kind of gentle forest slopes into old mountain.
Got it.
Okay.
Visual.
That sounds good.
I mean, I was really looking for a high fantasy campaign. So this sounds like it fits into this world. I'm curious. You said that magic is fairly well known in this world. Thinking about creating maybe a magic character, if they came from a small town, maybe it would be they would learn it from people passing through.
Yeah.
More than they would learn it from someone in the village. Is that kind of, as far as magic goes, maybe more likely?
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking it like that. I'm thinking that there's maybe a smattering of proper academic colleges to study magic at, and even those are kind of in the bigger locations.
You gotta have that money to get in.
Exactly. Yeah, but no, I think that works really well.
I'm sorry. There's capitalism in fantasy. No.
Is that a no-go for you? No, I want a socialist society in this.
Nothing but a trade economy.
Yeah. No, because it does provide. I feel the conflict that you need.
Yeah. But there are that is some good point. I am trying to think of other locations. I'm imagining that in the first maybe up until level 3, the first couple of levels that we're playing, maybe we stay around Kraigfort just so obviously you guys can go wherever you want, but that would just kind of help us get a handle of the world, get a handle of the character sheets.
Absolutely.
In terms of the magic of the setting, I love the idea of playing a magic user. I think the one thing is this. I didn't really imagine this setting as a high magic. I was thinking like more low to mid in the sense that like, you know, there isn't going to be like magic shops. Like when you go into like a big city or whatever, not there isn't going to be like, oh great, let me, you know, go spend money and like
this is where all the magical items you could ever want are.
Exactly.
Is magic like respected? Is it feared? Is it like?
That's a really good question. What's more exciting to you?
I feel like keeping you mentioned something about like maybe somebody would pass through like once a month kind of thing, like that kind of, and so I feel like I would, if I had magic, I would keep that close to my chest because that feels like a targeted thing. Like if you do have magic, you're both revered and also like probably puts a bigger target on you if you can do that.
I like that. We can say that like Kraigfort is a town where like, there is like, and since it is kind of like an feeds into this like bigger empire, maybe they are a little bit more comfortable with magic, but maybe like there is also an uncertainty about like, I mean, a magic user is like basically like a nuclear bomb walking through your town. So maybe there can be a little bit more of that we can build in as we're getting the campaign started.
Sort of like in a small town, usually there's 1 or 2 people that are really good at singing.
They're just really good, and they're known across the town for it.
But then if you go to like a bigger town, there's a lot of other people who have those talents.
Yeah,
and
they have agents.
I can't believe you're drawing on my past right now.
Cool.
I thought it was something we could all relate to.
But yeah, in terms of like the campaign pitch, I don't have like I have some big thoughts, but like I said, I imagine like we'll just be staying around Kraigfort for like maybe like the first couple of levels, and then and that's one thing I want y'all to like really choose like where this adventure goes. Like session 1, I mean, you can like just leave Kraigfort, go somewhere else, but like I don't know, I think that this would be like a good place to like.
How do levels work?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So that's what I'm thinking is that when you kill monsters in D&D, you get experience points.
Okay.
I'm thinking that like we'll do like experience point based leveling through to like level like 6 or 8. And then from there we go to something called milestone leveling, where it's just like, when you win the favor of the local duke, that's when you get to level 9. And then like, when you slay the monster that's been plaguing this region, that's when you get to level 10. And we can kind of feel it out. Do y'all have any preferences on XP versus milestone leveling?
I'll say I have actually never done XP leveling. I've only done milestone leveling.
Cool.
So I'm excited to try XP leveling.
Awesome.
As a DM, what's a trick that you use to keep track of that? Like XP, do you like track numbers, or do you just kind of keep sort of a tally in your head of like, okay, they've done this, they should level up?
So we're gonna be using Shard Tabletop for a lot of like the combat tracking. So one great thing about Shard is that after each encounter, it just divides up the XP for all the monsters you killed automatically. So I'll just be going off of Shard and how it gets divvied up there. But from there, there might be something where there's a social encounter that you do really well, and I'm like, yeah, that deserves some XP. So I don't know, that's kind of how I'm gonna keep track of it. And like I said, especially just for these like first couple of levels to get everyone on their feet.
Nice. Bailey, was there anything else that you were hoping for from your first campaign?
I want to fall in love.
You want to fall in love?
I want an epic romance.
Yes.
But like one of those torrid,
beautiful.
like probably can't be together, but they want to be.
Yeah, like a nice R&J,
absolutely, absolutely.
Starstruck lovers, should never be.
I'm definitely not opposed to like putting in some like love lines. I am not, as a DM, I'm not comfortable like narrating like explicit sexual content.
Does that happen?
In some tables, yeah.
It can.
Yeah.
Which is a good, I think, boundary to talk about too, is like, are we doing...
How horny is this game?
No, I mean, I'm down for like a horny game, but I think like I would just like, like you seduce the bar wench and then it fades to black. And we wake. I
use a lot of fade to black, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, exactly.
Type game. Yeah. I do enjoy that type of game. I enjoy that
too.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. So we can definitely plan for some like character romance. Are y'all okay with like intra character romance, or would you prefer it be with like NPCs? Like I don't know if y'all want to be.
I think that depends on our characters, because if there's I'm a huge enemies to lover type of if we hate each other until we love each other kind of thing. So if that develops, great. I would say if it's not intense and it's just casual, then no, I don't want an interpersonal relationship.
Okay,
well,
cool.
I'm only looking for casual, so it might be a problem.
That's the conflict then.
Yeah. I think that all sounds very fun.
Cool, awesome. So I guess we can say that like maybe there is going to be some PC like romance depending on how like the characters build, how the story goes. But obviously, if there at any point anything's like getting too real or crossing a boundary, like feel free to mention it. Something like that.
What would be a way that you would like us to mention, like if we're uncomfortable with something?
Oh, that's a good question. Are you familiar with like safety tools in D&D?
I'm familiar with some of them.
Okay,
I know we chatted a bit.
Yeah, I know we touched on it. So this is like when there are moments like in the game, if you know something is like uncomfortable, not like being fun for you to like role play or engage in, there's this tool called the X card. It's a safety tool in D&D. Essentially, it just means that we put an X on an index card. If there's a moment that comes up that like makes you feel uncomfortable or is like not fun or is like, oh, this is like too like real for it, you can plop down that X card. We like take a pause like in that moment. You know, maybe you and I talk privately, maybe we talk as a whole table, but to find out like what's the sticky point here, and then figure out like, you know, how to move past it in a way that keeps the table fun for everybody.
That's great.
Yeah. Another one we have is the lines and veils, and that can be something that like if we have some stuff that we know up front right now that like we want to mention, we can, but a line is essentially like a hard boundary you don't want to cross. Like for me, like that's a line, or a line for me would be like slavery. I don't want to like really like engage in like role playing like moments of slavery.
Yeah, definitely.
Whereas veils are things you're kind of more comfortable skirting around. Like in that case, it would be like the more sexual content, right? Like I'm okay like it being around and present and existing, but I don't really want to like, I want to skirt around it, fade to black. So yeah, those are kind of the safety tools, and they're also built into our virtual tabletop too. So whether we're playing in person or online, or it's built into Shard right here, so you can in the little one of the little emoji menus here, you can put an X to stop, like an N to slow down, or an O to like keep going.
We love boundaries.
So it's a good way to be communicating, and everyone on the on Shard who's looking at the like chat log can see like if I think something gets popped up. So if like you know one of us is saying something that the other is not comfortable with, we can communicate that through the virtual tabletop, whether we're playing in person or online.
Yeah.
Incredible.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love that. And I know in the past I've used this too. It hasn't actually come up in game, but it's something that we've talked about to just say like, okay, that's bringing something up in me, maybe triggering something for me that I'm not comfortable with. And we're going to cut to a different scene just to give that person some space from whatever's coming up. I know something that I often bring up at tables is like not having like non-consensual sex. Role playing that, because that, let's not do that. I guess for
me, like those things I would never have come up with in the first place. So like my little brain. But that's very interesting. I just like didn't think about the dynamics of role playing and the like world building that those elements I'm sure that people add in.
Yeah. Well, I think I will say for me, it's like, oh, why would we role play that? But and hearing other people bring it up, it's like, oh, and you know, there are a lot of fantasy content. Probably Game of Thrones is the most obvious one, where there is a lot of sexually explicit content and not consensual sexual content that is not always comfortable for people or triggering for people.
About fantasy worlds and people being like, and everything's dubious.
Yeah.
I think speaking to that end too, I think like in this world that we'll be playing in, like there is a lot of like kind of gray area and stuff. I you know, obviously like what we kind of talked about, like what our lines and boundaries are, like that's where we draw the lines. But
very Pride and Prejudice romance.
Yeah, I would love to encourage y'all to find, you know, not every character is going to be like a mustache twirling villain or like a wholly good person.
And maybe this is something to also bring into it as far as expectations, that I think is good, which is so cool about Dungeons and Dragons, is that it can be an inclusive environment. It's just like affirming gender identity and people's pronouns.
That's true.
And and character identity and character pronouns, and it just being like an open space, love is love in this world, and I think playing in a space that reflects the world that we'd like to see makes it a fun game.
Absolutely. So yeah, if there's any like lines or veils that you know of up front that you want to mention, I welcome you. Also feel free to like message me between now and when we play our first session next week, and we can kind of like I can take that information, or like I said, you can share it.
You struck some good ones there.
Yeah. And sometimes like we can't think of every single thing that like might like take us out of the game in that context. So like if it ever comes up while we're actually playing, please like feel free to talk about it with me, talk about it with each other. I want to make sure that everyone has fun.
That's really awesome. I don't know why I did not expect that. Like, it's not in a bad way. I just didn't anticipate so much.
It's definitely like a newer tradition. Like I don't think it. I mean, I wasn't doing this at my tables before.
I mean, it's not just like newer tradition, it's newer in everybody's vocabulary. I feel like it's newer and just
I'm just like checking in and being like, hey, what do we all want?
You're a human, I'm a human. Let's talk about
that.
How to be comfortable.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, a lot of games you're committing to weekly or bi-weekly sessions that are maybe 2 to 4 hours. So you're spending a lot of time with people, and I feel like in taking some time at the top to make sure that why everyone is there and that everyone is there to like get along and have a fun game at the table and not have it be something that's like hurtful or damaging.
Yeah.
Because we got enough of that in the world.
Yeah. 100%. It's nice to take it out in the fantasy world, but sometimes we don't want to see everything in it.
When you've been role-playing a character for a year, man, your feelings can get into it.
Yeah, that's true.
So to be able to like...
You can get attached.
Yeah. To be able to like have some of these boundaries, I think is really important for... Yeah, just like being aware of some of that stuff that can come up.
Cool. People have parasocial relationships with their D&D characters, you think?
Yeah, to some extent, for sure. I mean, like a lot of times... It's like the unspoken parts of your psychology that usually like pour out, like my daddy issues.
Oh my God. I'm playing a character who I would never be in life, and I like it.
You didn't tell me D&D was therapy.
Oh, sometimes too much of therapy.
Yes. A lot of therapy happens at these tables.
Yeah,
which actually that brings up another point. Another safety tool that I hadn't really thought to include, but now that we mentioned it, is just like some like aftercare, like after the session, especially if there's like an intense thing. I want to make sure that like those like first like 15 or so minutes after we like finished at the game, maybe that's the time we just check in, make sure that like any arguments we had like in character aren't spilling over into our lives. Obviously, as the DM, I can facilitate and arbitrate that, but like just making sure that conflict with the characters, it doesn't mean conflict with our friends.
Yeah.
Another thing I guess I wanted to ask is what kind of characters are y'all thinking about playing?
Yeah.
With all this in mind about like the campaign setting that I'm interested in running in, and like these conversations, what's exciting to you?
I'd like to be the dragon in Dungeons and Dragons, but I was looking at that. So how many little things there are. I was looking at the list you had sent me, which was just a comprehensive list of like races, and I had zero idea out of your basic I'm like elf gnome kind of like characters, but there were so many different versions and words and things that I looked up, and it was lovely. But I think I'm most heart of hearts drawn to like a dragonoid type of
a draconic or dragonborn. Yeah, that's a blue dragonborn.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Have you thought about like what your class might be?
Yeah, well, I was like I was leaning towards rogue for the word and word alone, but I think I want to keep it close to home and stick out with bard.
Bard,
a dragonborn bard, very fun.
I love that.
Dragonborn bard,
and bards are really fun. I think bards are a good like first character because they can kind of, as you level up, you can kind of go more into like the martial class or more of spellcaster. They can kind of they're kind of a jack of all trades class, so you can kind of do everything. So that's really fun.
I think that's a very wise choice for like your first D&D character.
I want to put the dragon bard in Dungeons and Dragon Bard.
bards, Dungeons and Dragon bards.
Yes.
Do you have like a name for your character?
The only name that comes to mind is Banjo, but emphasis on like Ban-Joe.
Yeah.
Banjo.
First name Ban, second name Joe.
Yes.
I love that.
Can I call you BJ?
Yes, absolutely.
BJ the Dragonborn Bard.
That's amazing.
That's a good one. I like that.
Well, I
What
love
about you?
that. Well, because you're playing a bard, and maybe it's just because I'm watching The Witcher, but it makes me want to play like Witcher-like character, like a Geralt. And I'm trying to.
Are you going to be a Hemsworth? Or are you going to be? Did you see that?
Yeah, Henry
know.
Cavill's
Henry
Mhm.
Cavill's. I think he's. I wondered if it was just because of the other stuff he has going, like Superman starting back up.
Superman.
So I wondered if it was just like a conflict of timing.
I mean, I'm sure it's like,
because I wonder if he's like signed a certain number of movie deals with DC, so they're like, no, you have to do this.
that's true.
And they're like, well, I'm supposed to be shooting for The Witcher, and they're like,
No,
you're not.
So it sounds like Henry Cavill is a warlock with
That's what I was thinking.
pact with the DC extended universe.
Believe it.
Yeah.
Believe
That,
it.
that is
sold
a
his
corporate.
soul
That
to
is funny.
Disney.
A warlock with a corporate patron.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think that's
That's
exactly.
funny.
I'm not gonna play Geralt. I'm gonna play Henry Cavill. Yeah, I think that's. I do like the warlock though. I was thinking, would Geralt be more of a fighter, or I feel like he, either
I don't
like
know. I would kind of caution against like trying to spec yourself too specifically
yeah.
into one thing, especially because like I'm not that familiar with The Witcher, but it seems like Geralt's more of like that kind of quiet loner type.
Right.
I always
I
encourage
wanna play-
players to make
yeah,
characters that want to be
a
with the
less
party.
brooding. More, I was thinking like class features. Of
Yeah,
like
gotcha.
a fighter who can maybe amp himself.
That's
With, like,
horny.
potions
We're back to
and-
horny.
yeah,
and
we're
amp
back to
yourself
horny.
sounds horny.
Yeah.
I don't know what amp
You
yourself
know,
means.
yeah. So yeah, like with some magical abilities.
Okay. Yeah.
So either like a fighter. What's the fighter class that has magic?
Well, we'll also be starting at level 1 with these characters
That's
too.
true,
So
that's true.
don't feel like there is going to be time for you to grow and kind of like spec your character in the way you want. But I love the idea of a fighter. Human? Are you thinking human?
That's a good question. With your dragonborn, I could go human, or maybe I'll be like a halfling or a dwarf.
Yeah. Well, as just kind of like mulling that over, why not like just like consider why is this character in Kraigfort? They don't have to be like I guess like they don't have to be like a born and raised Kraigfortian. But yeah, some reason why they maybe like are passing through the town or like have reason to be in the town for, you know, a significant amount of time.
Would you say that D&D is a first thought, best thought kind of game, or?
I always think it's best to not overthink it. Yeah.
Okay, great. My first thought then, which could be my best thought, but it could be the worst thought, is that BJ Banjo, Dragon Bard, was in a traveling group that got left in Kraigfort. They kicked him out of the.
I love that.
The traveling whatever pack, and he's just, like stranded now to like fight for his own.
We're kicking you out of the band, BJ.
So this is like Jack Black as a.
Exactly
I'm gonna scrap everything I have. Like you're gonna be a substitute teacher at a school of music.
You gotta figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Henry, as my character's name. I'm gonna stick with Henry.
Incredible.
I think it's gonna be Henry Kraigfort of the Kraigforts. Of the Kraigforts.
Wow. Okay.
And he's joined like the town watch because he's trying to protect the village.
Okay.
And sees this lonely, down on their luck dragonborn bard. Is like, hey, are you okay?
Well, if you're on City Watch, you said City Watch?
Yeah.
Maybe I'm playing in the street.
Yeah.
Trying to get some money.
Nice.
Trying to get some money. And I just see like I hear your sad story about how you got kicked out of the band. I'm like, oh, that's so sad. You know, my mom might make you a bowl of porridge.
Oh.
Would you like a bowl
The
of
Kraigforts are a nice, kind family?
Yeah.
How?
I mean, my dad runs the mines in the Craig, but sorry, we say Craig weird around here.
I I love this. We've already established like the old family in this thing, and that they have an accent. Craig.
Yeah, Craig. Yeah.
Can I get you an egg?
Can I get you like anything? Yeah, I'll get you an egg. A bowl of porridge. We don't have a dialect. We just say certain words.
Yeah.
You know.
Is that not
you
what
want
a
some
dialect
milk?
is?
I'll get you some milk.
So I'm thinking that like this is really cool. I really like how like we've kind of fleshed out this backstory. This is giving me somewhere to kind of like go off of for this first session. Why don't we just, if y'all want to like really quickly like build your characters? The only thing I'm gonna say is like only official Wizard of the Coast content.
Okay.
So Wizards of the Coast, they are usually abbreviated WOTC. They are the company that like makes all the D&D stuff. They're owned by Hasbro, who from your childhood. So and there's like a lot of really great stuff out there for like other different types of like content creators and people make their own like things and publish them for like the D&D setting.
Great. Yeah.
But just especially since this is like Bailey's first game, I think it might be great for them to like just start out like with just like the OG, the vanilla stuff. But even then, like I guess mostly for Michael, like feel
free
to
put a
like,
cherry on top.
Yeah. I'd love to start off with Henry Kraigfort. Yeah. Tell us about your character.
Hi, I am Henry Kraigfort, the fourth, but I don't like to talk about that. I'm a stout halfling noble. As you might know, my family comes from the Kraigforts. I'm a fighter. I like to protect our village. And a lot of times we actually have to fight like creatures in the Craig. So I'm really good at fighting without using my sense of sight. And I just like help, our little village is really nice and cute, and I like it to stay that way. So that's me. I'm Henry Kraigfort.
Welcome, Henry Kraigfort the Fourth.
Is it? I'm not locked into the voice, right?
You don't have to lock in. Yeah.
Oh, do you want to upload a token though?
What is that?
Just like a little character art for yourself. Shard has this really cool thing where you can it just like automatically like searches the internet for you, and you can find like art that's just available.
Search web for token.
Yeah.
Oh, incredible!
Just kind of gives you an option.
Yeah, you can even type in like blue dragon in like the search thing up there, and it'll like.
I mean, we do have your final form in our
This is what BJ Banjo becomes by level 20.
All this time I've been picturing going like, ah, and now I know it's going.
That's fucking hard.
There's no art of him carrying a tuba. I feel like that's a shame.
Art makers out there, we want a blue dragon with a tuba. Tag us at Dungeon Busters. We want it now.
Their name is Banjo.
But they do not play the banjo.
That is funny.
I do not know.
That's why they kicked him out of the band. Yeah. They hired a banjo player.
They're like, we thought you were like world-renowned banjo player because it's in your name.
Nope, tuba. Yeah. Oh, love that. Look at this.
Oh,
hot.
Like
amazing.
Love that.
Like kind of like a hot dumb jock, I feel like, in a little bit of a
amazing
spark.
BJ Banjo. Pleasure to meet you. In fact, it's a pleasure to meet anyone because I've been very lonely recently. My life has been falling apart ever since I was left in Kraigfort by my bandmates / former lovers.
Do you know what the name of the band was?
Come back to me on that one.
All right, we'll come back.
Because I feel like that's I am not over it, and I don't want to talk about it yet. Everything that went down, because I feel like something went down.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I always say the best backstory happens when you're playing the game.
Yeah.
So I feel like I've been in Kraigfort. Well, I'm not a local. I don't need the accent's not part of my vocabulary. But it's been about a week, and I barely found a place to stay. I don't really know how to survive here, or if I want to stay here, if I want to go anywhere else. I'm just very down on my luck. All I've got with me is my tuba and other various musical instruments that Maybe they took those from me. If I only have the tuba.
Yeah, it could be that they took the rest.
Yeah, they left me with me and my tuba.
They were rented.
Can the tuba have magic? Or is that something that is...
As a bard, the tuba is essentially like what channels your magic.
Mm-hmm.
There are definitely like in like exploring the world and going on more adventures, you can find like legendary musical instruments, or even like find like craftsmen who can make better instruments. But yeah, as a bard, the idea is that like whereas a wizard might need a wand to focus their spell casting, bards do it through their music and their voice.
I was thinking of like if my tuba can expand, and then like I could stay in my tuba, like my tuba is my home.
Ooh.
I don't know if that exists in the world.
We can. That's a quest. I can make. You can definitely like quest to make like a mix between a tuba and the Leoman's tiny hut spell.
Yes.
Yeah. So your hut is like essentially like a wizard's tent that it gets bigger on the inside.
You're like, you can walk around like a little hermit crab. Like your butt is in the tuba, but like your arms are like dragging you across the dirt road.
That's so good.
Oh,
that's
God.
the visual I want.
Yeah.
And I'm just feeling really lost and lonely.
Okay.
Really lonely.
You know, Kraigfort's not that bad of a place. Let me show you around.
Awesome. Actually, I think this is a perfect time to get these characters in action. I always think that the thing that's always missing from a session 0 because you do all this heady stuff, you do all this talking, it's missing a little bit of action. So we're actually going to go to the Dungeon Busters lab. Again, deeper.
I
And,
was gonna say, we are physically there.
We are physically in the lab already, but we're going into the side room.
Yeah.
So come up to the lab and see what's on the slab.
And we're gonna actually put these characters to the test and have a little combat encounter here.
Nice.
So on this night, it's young BJ Banjo has been left behind by his bandmates. Is it him pronounced for your Dragonborn? He's been left behind by his bandmates, and he has just been left almost nigh penniless. With no one, no connection or family in this town, just kind of been wandering around, kind of thinking about your next steps. In this week where you've been wandering about, you've just kind of started walking on this night, and you found yourself like at the edge of a graveyard, and you see a strange green light coming out of one of the mausoleums in this small, unkempt graveyard. Henry Kraigfort, you as kind of a legacy member of the Village Watch, you have heard some telling of like some disturbances over by the old village graveyard. This is where a lot of the ancestral people, like the original Kraigfortians, have been buried. And it's it's not a big tourist attraction or anything, but it is something that's like kind of dear, especially for the folks who have been in Kraigfort since its founding.
Great grandfather's buried in there.
Yeah. And so you've heard reports of some of the village kids have said that they heard some noises coming from the mausoleum. And your first thought, of course, is worrying about grave robbers. And so as you wander to this mausoleum, you run across the young BJ Banjo.
You can call me Beej.
You are both standing in the glow of this light. What would you all like to do?
I feel like I haven't noticed Henry yet. Right? Like I don't know you're there. I feel like I'm encaptured. I'm like enthralled by this light a little bit. It feels hypnotic.
Yeah. I think seeing this light and then knowing that someone else is here, or I think I spot BJ.
Yeah.
I'll walk over to BJ kind of with a hustle. You should probably get out of here. This doesn't look so good, right?
I think I scream into my tuba and it makes a huge noise and scares both of us. Yeah, because I wasn't expecting a person.
The tuba echoes throughout the dark forest, and on the last bit of that tuba echo, you hear emanating from the mausoleum.
Was that you?
I start backing away with my tuba. I say nothing to you. Do not acknowledge. I don't trust you. I don't know you. I'm backing away because I'm like, maybe I don't want this.
Yeah.
Okay. I turn and start walking towards the mausoleum doors with my shield and my short sword up. Okay, don't worry.
I'm feeling really guilty about maybe leaving this man in this situation, though. I don't want to be involved, but I'm feeling guilty about it.
And that's suddenly you hear goom, 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 goom on the old wooden rotten door of the mausoleum, and it come barreling out. You see the rotting flesh of an animated corpse. It's got maggots coming out of its cheeks. Parts of its arm have just been withered away to bone. On its heels, you also see a dusty skeleton picking himself back up, wielding some weapons in its hand, as another skeleton begins to claw its way out of the dirt from an old ancient grave and pulls himself onto the ground. I'm gonna need both of y'all to roll for initiative.
My first roll!
Your first roll!
So Bailey, you'll want to go to your character sheet on your phone here.
Okay.
And at the very, very top of your character sheet, you'll see a little polyhedral symbol that says initiative.
Okay.
And click on the little die in that box. Boom, you just rolled it, already set, 17. You have it very good. So that roll determines what order we go in this fight.
Okay.
So right now, just look over your character sheet, start thinking about what your character would want to do on their turn. Henry, what'd you roll? Cool, a 13, awesome. So with Henry tepidly approaching the mausoleum and the zombie and skeletons already surging out, we got BJ Banjo a little bit further away, outside of the glow of the green, but still in view of the necromantic horrors that are unfolding here. We're going to start off the turn with the skeleton who rolled a 20. And this skeleton is just going to immediately start shambling around the corner of this mausoleum here, and it's going to lift up its short bow and shoot an arrow at Henry Kraigfort IV. With a 5 to hit, the arrow goes past him, sinking into the dirt just in front of Banjo, BJ Banjo. The skeleton is going to use the rest of its movement to approach and get face to face with Henry Kraigfort. We pass turn now to you, BJ Banjo. What would you like to do?
I would like to use what little acrobatic skills I have to pick up Henry.
Yeah, you don't even have to you can run up and you pick up Henry. Yeah,
I'd like
Henry,
to pick him up.
That's a good thing. How do we feel about players imposing movement on other players? I usually just like to ask, do you want to be picked up in that moment?
Yeah, I think Henry is pretty stiff as a board right now, just real tense. So I think that.
Tell me how you really feel. BJ, stiff as a board. Wrong.
Henry is stiff as a board. Kraigfort. Yeah. So I think if BJ went to pick him up, he would just be still in ready position.
Yeah, just picking up a statue.
Yeah.
All right, great. Yeah, you picked him up. You did use about 10 feet of your movement there. Mm-hmm. Moving with Henry in your hands is gonna have your movement. So each foot that Makes you travel sense. Is gonna be lessened. At the very top of the character sheet, you can see that you have a speed of 30 feet. So every turn you can move up to 30 feet.
Okay.
You have 10 feet to get to. You use 10 feet to get to Henry. You have 20 feet left, but since you're carrying him, you're only going to be able to move up to 10.
Got it.
What would you like to do?
I would like to put us behind a one of the other graves.
Yeah. Perfect. Let's see here. You pick him up, and you can get a little bit further, but a little bit of distance, but not too much. Henry, since you were moved out of the melee range, you are going to be taking an opportunity attack from this skeleton.
I pull my shield up in front of my face.
In lieu of his, and rather than a short bow, he's going to use his short sword with a 15 to hit.
That does not hit.
With an 18 armor class, Henry just bounces it off the sword.
I am stout, and I am little, and I am hard to hit.
And you're hard.
All right.
And I'm rock hard.
BJ, it is still your turn, so you've used your movement.
Okay.
You also have an action and a bonus action.
Okay.
So actions, those are usually things like casting spells. If you look at your spell list on your sheet, Anything that has an A in the time column costs an action to cast. Okay. There are some things you can do as a bonus action that can help out other things. And this, I think it is... Yeah, so if you look at your Bard features under Bardic Inspiration, that is something that would be used as a bonus action, right? You can inspire others through stirring words or music. You basically give someone like a D6 six-sided die buff by expending this this feature.
Interesting. And I can do that once per turn? Or
once per turn, yeah. So each turn is made up of movement, action, and bonus action. You can do it in any order, like move 10 feet, attack as an action, move 10 feet, bonus action, Bardic Inspiration, finish 10 feet like behind the tree. Yeah, so there's a little tactics there that you can think about. So what are you thinking for? You still have an action and a bonus action, and you do have a dude in your hand. So your hands.
And the bonus action is from the Bardic Inspiration, or is that just separate? Oh, does the bonus action have to be what's under the Bardic Inspiration?
Correct. Okay. Yeah. So the things are categorized in the game already as action, bonus action.
Okay. Okay.
Etc.
So you can't use like an action spell as a bonus action.
Correct.
You can only use things that are like labeled as bonus action.
We've got the one skeleton in front of us, and then we've got there's another skeleton, and then the giant, the like actual corpse guy.
Yeah. So there's a zombie and 2 skeletons.
Two skeletons. Okay. I feel like maybe I would like to do something with Vicious Mockery.
Yeah.
Ooh, good choice.
Great. Vicious Mockery at the skeleton nearest you. Perfect. So since this is a cantrip, it's not going to consume anything. It will be an action. So you unleash a string of insults laced with subtle enchantments at a creature you can see within range. So it is going to make a wisdom saving throw. So if you look at the hit DC column, you see that it says Wiz 13.
Okay.
That skeleton is going to have to roll a 13 or higher. And if it rolls 13 or higher, it isn't affected by your spell. But if it rolls lower than that, it will be affected.
Okay.
And it rolled a 4. So what's the Vicious Mockery? What do you say to this guy?
I call him Funky Bones, which is the first words that I have spoken in Henry's presence. I feel like that is like the first thing I say. Because I'm mocking him, but I'm also trying to make light of the situation because I feel like use humor as a defense.
Yeah,
literally
therapy
and emotionally. Yeah.
D&D therapy. It's happening.
We're here.
And so I'm both mocking him, but I'm also trying to make light of the situation by calling him Funky Bones and maybe saying that that no one's ever really loved him. And that also probably is coming from a personal place, but on the defense. Yeah.
Nice. Go ahead and roll damage for that attack.
That was brutal.
So if you go to your Vicious Mockery row, go all the way to the end where it says effect, you'll see 1d4 there in bold. So you can just click on that. Boom. You do 1 point of damage to the skeleton.
Incredible.
Nice. But they also have disadvantage, I believe, on their attacks moving forward. Or something like that. There's a secondary.
If the target can hear you, though it need not understand you, it must succeed on a wisdom saving throw and have disadvantage on the next attack roll it makes before the end of its next turn.
Okay.
So that means that if this skeleton makes another attack on its turn again, it is going to roll twice to hit, and it's going to take the lower of the two. So you've just imposed disadvantage on the skeleton with the spell. Very, very, very well done.
Nice.
This is fascinating. This is like literally it. This
is the game.
You're doing it.
We're playing.
We're doing it.
You do have still Bardic Inspiration. You do have a bonus action at your disposal if you would like to use it. This would give a creature a D6 die that you choose, and they can add that D6 value to whatever they roll. So if Michael rolls to hit and he misses, but you've already inspired him, he can roll a D6. And that might push him over the edge to like actually make that hit. You don't have to use this turn. You don't have to use all of your movement or all of your action.
I mean, if I can, I feel like I would look at the little dude in my arms and be make some kind of joke about come here often. Yeah.
All right, yeah. So come here often, woven together with the magic of your bardic traditions. It is going to consume one of those, so you get 2 more of those before the end of the day. To do those, but yeah, you now have a D6,
nice.
Henry, and you can use that on ability checks, attack rolls, or saving throws.
Okay,
awesome.
Yeah, I come here all the time to pay respects to my family. Yeah, I come here all the time. And he feels like hard, like, I know where I am.
You see him like puff up a little bit as the zombie begins to shuffle outside of the thing, and you see splayed across its chest is the time-honored insignia of the Kraigforts.
Oh, great Uncle Myra, you're not looking so good.
Great Uncle Myra is making a beeline towards you, Henry, as he tries to slam into you with his zombie arms. With a 16 to hit, it glances off your shield that's also emblazoned with the Kraigfort coat of arms. The zombie.
Not furt on furt violence.
Yeah, Kraigfort on Kraigfort violence, yeah. Speaking of, we go now to our resident Kraigfort, or living Kraigfort. What would you like to do?
I think I'm going to sort of shuffle out of my new friend's arms so I can get my feet firmly planted.
Perfect.
And I'll do a hi-ya, and I'll slash out with my sword.
Nice.
That's going to be 13.
13 hits. Go ahead and roll damage.
Nice. It's going to be 9 points of piercing damage for max damage.
Nice.
I'm aiming right for the heart at Great Uncle Myra.
You stab Great Uncle Myra straight through the chest. And he like kind of shoves himself deeper onto the blade before you like pull it out once more. Maggots and black bile is like coating the steel of your blade.
Oh no.
Anything else with your turn, Henry?
I'm just gonna dig my heels into the earth and be ready.
Yeah. The next one up is a skeleton, and this is the other skeleton in the mausoleum who's gonna start shuffling out. You see that this one is dressed in this like decayed pink dress, and she's wearing this like really tall powdered wig that's like replete with like spiders and other like beetles and maggots. As she is going to go 15 feet and take a swing at our dear friend BJ Banjo. Equipped, this aristocratic skeleton equipped with a short sword is going to take a swipe at you with a 12 to hit. That meets your armor class of 12 and beats it for 3 points of piercing damage.
For our listeners, you may be hearing our dungeon dog whining a little bit in the background. She really wants to play.
She's so sad. I just got hit.
I know.
She's so
like,
sad.
No.
We go now back to the top of the order as the skeleton with the short sword, the first skeleton y'all encountered, also closes in around y'all, comes around to the right of Henry here, and is going to come with a short sword attack. That is a bastard 20 to hit. You take 6 points of piercing damage.
That's going to hurt.
BJ Banjo, you are on deck. What would you like to do now?
Okay. I would like to, if it's possible, blow my tuba so hard that the sound waves, if I have that ability, push them back a little bit.
So that's where we get into something that is a little bit outside of the purview of what the character can do.
Okay.
Definitely, again, like the tuba is the where you channel your abilities forward. You could take the shove action. And we can just flavor it as the tuba doing the shoving. But essentially a shove in 5e is, let me pull up the rule here. If you use, if you're using the attack action, you can shove a creature to knock it prone or push it away from you.
Okay.
Instead of making an attack roll, you make an athletics check contested by the target's athletics check or acrobatics check. I get to pick. And then if you win, if you roll higher than it, then the zombie's pushed 5 feet back. You want to do it like that? It'll give you temporary replete, but it will also consume your entire action.
Right. Then maybe instead of the tuba, I need to reach down into my whole body and blow out some lightning.
I think that's a great idea.
You're gonna come to play.
And because it's a breath weapon, if you move a bit, you might be able to get more than one of them.
So actually, I'm gonna make a token here for your breath weapon.
Am I tall enough that I can breathe over you and it won't hit you?
Canonically, possibly. But I think it depends on if you like take up the same space that I'm in. Then you could do that. But if I'm like a space away from you, since they say it's like a cone coming out, so I'd have to be like right under you to not be hit by your breath weapon.
So that is what your breath weapon looks like. This rectangle.
Okay.
It will, if you aim it at towards zombie 1 and 2, Henry is also going to be taking damage because he is in that line of fire. That's why right. That. You could move yourself and reposition your character around and try to get another angle. You could also just focus on this one guy and like just pour it all into him.
Well, if I can move.
Yeah. Where would you like to move?
I would like to now for my visuals. As a dragonborn, can I fly?
No.
Not even a short, like a hop, and I can just like hop and glide. That's not.
No, they don't got
the wings are non-functional. You think I'm just like a lizard person?
You're basically like a lizard person. Yeah. The idea is that.
Can I get wings later in life? Like if I reach a dragon state, like just
we can make that part of the quest for like higher levels and stuff.
Yeah, if you're like I want to become a full-blown dragon.
Yeah.
There's also like magic items that like winged boots you could find.
Okay. Then I think I would like to. I can go 30 feet.
Yeah, you can move up to 30 feet. And you have like one skeleton to your right. Like to your immediate left is Henry and the zombie and the skeleton that are flanking him.
If I'm able to get behind enough to, you're so close to them.
You could do it like kind of over here.
I could go over there.
Yeah, right, go to the right of the.
Leap on that big.
I think that'll give me some height.
Yeah.
I'll hop on top of that.
Perfect.
And I'm going to lightning down from above.
Oh yeah, and you can get like just two straight zombie and a skeleton to that. Perfect. Yep. Yeah, so you kind of position yourself around one of the skeleton, careful not to leave his melee range to not provoke an opportunity attack. And you open your mouth, lightning crackles between your white teeth as a streak of lightning shoots out. So now that everyone in this line is going to make a dexterity saving throw.
Nice.
So let's see. The zombie rolled a nat 20.
Zombie?
What is that?
Nat 20.
He is only going to take half damage from that because of the.
Why was that so sexual? That came out of nowhere.
You know, that's just our nat. Every time you roll a nat 20. It's pretty hot when you roll in that 20.
Yeah. So now the skeleton is also going to make that same dexterity saving throw, and he rolled an 11. Could you tell me the spell save DC or the save DC for your breath weapon? The DC is 11 there. Yeah, so that means both the skeleton and the zombie succeeded, so they're only going to take half damage from your breath weapon.
Okay.
So you go ahead and hit that 2d6 that's in parentheses. Perfect. 7 points of damage. So half of that, we're going to round that down to 3 points of damage for the skeleton, 3 points for the zombie. And that does consume your breath weapon for the day. So that your breath weapon is consumed. So you can check off the little bubble in your character sheet just to remind yourself that that has been consumed until the next dawn. Great. Anything else with your turn?
Let's see.
You've used like 10 feet of movement, like
breath work, but I could do it. It's my breath. Does that count as an action?
That does count as an action.
Makes sense. And they only took a little bit of damage. How much do I have more feet left?
Yeah. You have 20 feet of movement left.
Then I'd like to get myself closer to the mausoleum. I feel like there's something.
Yeah, like inside happening. Or like around the side here.
I kind of want to see if there's anything. Is the green light? Is there any green light in any of the creatures?
You can see that there's like kind of a dull green spark behind the eyes of the zombie, and like.
Then I want to look into the mausoleum to see if there's like something that I can destroy to turn them off.
Move your character here, and you will take an opportunity attack from the skeleton.
Okay.
Since you left its melee range, and it is going to take a bastard 20 hit on you with 3 points of damage. So go ahead and subtract 3 points from your HP.
What are you doing there?
I'm at 6.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Where are you at, Henry?
I'm at 10. No, I'm at 7. So I could be doing better.
All right. So you walked over to the mausoleum, looking through the broken mausoleum door. You can see that the green light is almost like luminescent fog that is seeping out of the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And the fog that is hanging in the air is what's giving this green glow everywhere. You can see that this fog is like kind of just like wisping like out of the ground and like coating like the ground around it. In the little bits of the grass that are around the mausoleum, the grass is already starting to turn brown and decay a little bit.
Okay.
Great. Anything else with your turn?
I don't believe so.
Perfect. Let's pass it over to Henry.
who I've left completely alone.
Surrounded by three enemies.
I think I'm gonna look up at Great Uncle Myra. Just go, I'm so sorry. And I'm gonna try to cut his head off.
All right, roll to hit.
All right, let's see if I can do this. Please hit. 11.
That hits.
Oh. And that's going to be 6 points of piercing damage.
6 points of piercing damage. Perfect. You manage to, like, nearly headless.
Nearly headless Great Uncle Myra.
Yeah, she, like, you, like, cut, like from her, like, trachea, like, off, so she's just missing a chunk of neck, and her head's, like, kind of, like, wobbling on her rotted shoulders.
I'm going to just, like, dig my heels deeper into the ground after, like, just missing that. And just like take some deep breaths and still myself. I'm going to bonus action use Second Wind to regain 1d10 plus 1 health points.
Nice.
It's going to be 7.
Brings you up to max?
It brings me up to max.
Nice.
So now I am at full health.
Let's pass it over to the skeleton here. So this one skeleton that's flanking you, he is going to come here and he's going to do a short sword dirty business with a bastard 20, sinking into your thigh his rusty blade for 4 points of piercing damage. You pass turn, you're on deck. You go to the other skeleton with his short sword. It's going to try to dig it into your thigh, onto your other thigh. With a 9 to hit, you're able to parry it away with your shield. As we go now to BJ, Banjo, what would you like to do?
So, besides the green mist glowing, there's nothing in the mausoleum that is like...
You see like 2 broken like sarcophagi, and you see like there are 4 more, and you can hear that something's like pounding underneath them.
Oh.
Is there a door to this mausoleum?
There's the one door that you are looking in through, and then there are no other doors. They're like tiny, like little windows, but like no bigger than like the fantasy equivalent of a football.
Okay. I could close the door. There's more in there.
The door is broken. They broke through the door at the beginning.
Naughty corpses. Let's see. I think I'm gonna oh shit to try to go help. They're gonna come, but we need to get out of here. And so let me come for this. I think I can finish off the head of the zombie.
Yeah,
go for it.
With my little, I think I have a...
You could go for a vicious mockery, or you also have a rapier and a dagger that you could attack with if you're trying to get in there with your webs.
With my weapon, that also counts as the action, right?
Yes.
So I could only do one of those. Okay.
Though, like there are some weapons where you can like kind of dual wield them. So the rapier would be in your primary hand, and then a dagger could be in your offhand, and then you can also attack with your offhand as a bonus action, if you would like. So then you could get essentially 2 attacks.
Okay.
In one turn.
I think that's what I'd like to do. Paint the picture of me for Uncle Moira.
Yeah. He's like dressed in these like aristocratic threads.
Where's his head? Like how close is it to?
Oh, like slivers. He is on like tendons and a little bit of vertebrae.
Okay, then I think I would like to run/leap on the zombie.
Yeah.
To one hand, try to pull the head off.
Yeah.
While trying to defend against which one is. What can I reach?
Well, in this context too, like going for the straight attack, you don't have to worry about him attacking you right now. But like if you wanted to kind of flavor,
I think if I can flail to get, if they're close enough to try to head for one, sword for the for another.
I love that. Which one would you like to attack with which? Which one?
I think I can get the other skeleton has something in your leg right now, right?
Yeah, they both like stuck Henry. Yeah. Like stab them.
Well, then let me grab the Victorianly dressed skeleton.
Yes.
Let me try to let me try to get her.
Okay, great. Roll to hit with either your rapier or your dagger. 16 to hit with your rapier. That connects. Go ahead and roll damage on the skeleton. 9 piercing damage. You like run this skeleton through. Like you just like essentially like cut through its like aristocratic dress. And
the
like
pearls there, I please be
the pearls. My mother's pearls scattered everywhere. Yeah, and those are like kind of scattered on the ground right now. This skeleton is not looking good. You've managed to, like, one of her arms has fallen off. Like, all of her ribs are like on the ground. Her pearls are scattered. Still standing. Now you could do your second attack if you're gonna go with the dagger. You can focus it in on this one you've already damaged, or you can pivot and attack Great Uncle.
Pivot for the head.
All right. Roll to hit on Great Uncle Moira. 24 hits. Nice. Go ahead and roll damage, that D4. For only 1 point of damage. Uncle Myra's head is still standing.
Oh, God damn it.
No.
You have strong genes.
We go now to Uncle Myra himself, who is going to pivot towards you and is going to slam you with his rotting arms. With a 4 to hit, you're able to, like, kind of deflect it with your tuba. With that, we go past turn now to Henry.
I've always said Great Uncle Myra's good at keeping his head.
He's a level head.
He's level-headed. Great. I think I've got to get rid of Great Uncle Myra. I feel like that's what I have to do. I don't want to drop my shield, though, because it's to do, like, the 2 attacks thing.
You could attack with your shield.
Oh, I can?
Yeah.
Oh, I can. Okay. Then I'm going to attack Great Uncle Myra with my short sword. I'm just trying to get that last little piece of flesh that's holding his head on for 13 to hit.
Yeah.
That's going to be 7 points of piercing damage.
How do you finish off Great Uncle Myra?
Yeah, I think I just kind of sort of thread the tip of my sword into where his neck used to be and just kind of get it right up against the last dangly bit of skin and just just snip it.
He collapses as the last little thread of flesh connecting his head to his torso goes down. You also see... Oh, wait. If damage reduces the zombie to 0 hit points, it must make a Constitution saving throw with a DC of 5 plus the damage taken. So 7 plus 5 is 12. Constitution, if it beats 12... Oh, nope, it's dead.
Okay.
With the
so
undead
it has a chance to stay up.
Yeah, it has a chance to stay up at 1 HP, but no. He is dead.
Nice.
Bye, Uncle.
And then I think, like, as I finally have killed that one, I'm going to turn to the one next to me, flanking me on my left, and just try to bash it with my shield.
The one on your left?
Yeah.
Awesome. Roll to hit.
That is going to be only a 5 to hit.
It's going to miss.
Oh, I'm going to use Bardic Inspiration
Add that
to
plus
add
6.
a D6. It's going to be plus 3, 5, 6, 7, 8 to hit.
8 meets and beats. Wait,
does it really?
Wait, on the skeleton? Nope, never mind. Sorry.
I was gonna say that's pretty low to hit.
Oh yeah, I was looking at his passive perception on it.
Oh, okay.
No, that is not gonna hit the skeleton, unfortunately.
Well, it was worth a shot.
With that,
you got Myra.
I got Myra.
We go to the aristocratic skeleton in the powdered wig. She raises the short sword towards you, BJ, with a 16 to hit, which beats your armor class of 12 and connects for 4 points of piercing damage. Subtract 4 HP from yourself.
BJ.
How close are you? Do you have any way to heal yourself?
I do.
We have the other skeleton. This one is a little dustier looking. The one to Henry's left is going to attack with a short sword. 6 to hit. It is going to miss. BJ. Up.
Thank God. Okay, first of all, gotta cure my wounds.
And 11 points of healing, so you get your HP goes up by 11.
Even if I don't have that many?
It would just go to the max and
got
then
it
wouldn't spill over.
Okay, thank God. Now that I...
So that was your action to cure wounds. As how does that look? Like, do you, like, sing yourself a song? Like, this is just flavor.
I feel like there is something about my scales that I have to, like... fix.
Yeah,
there's some scale thing. Maybe it's like buttons, like scales. If I touch all my scales in the right places, they like grow back.
Oh, I love that. Awesome. Yeah, you are back up at full HP. You do still have a bonus action. If you would like to use it, you can either bardically inspire once more, or you could take an offhand attack with your dagger.
I would love to do that offhand attack with my dagger.
Yeah, and there's one skeleton right next to you that's between you and Henry, so that'd make an optimal target.
Great. Should I?
Yep. Plus 5 on the dagger. Right, 14 to hit connects. Go ahead and roll damage. 2 points of piercing damage. Can you tell me how you kill the skeleton?
I get to kill the skeleton?
You get to kill it.
Okay.
Brought it to 0.
I take the wig off, first of all.
Snatch that wig.
Yeah, I snatch her fucking wig. And then I take the bodice, rip the bodice, but the bodice is connected to the ribs.
Yeah.
And so it ends up just ripping the whole, like, cavity apart.
Lord, cavity. Good.
Just cavity is gone. And then the structural integrity of this Victorian skeleton, literally can't stand up.
Yeah, I love that. That skeleton is dead.
Can I put on the wig?
Yeah, for sure. Free action. Put on the wig. You now have like a cobwebby, musty, white powdered wig on your head.
Incredible.
Great. I think that's the end of your turn, unless you wanted to move anywhere. But...
I'd love to run back to in front of the mausoleum.
Yeah, perfect. You are right there. You can still hear the banging coming from the other coffins. We go now to Henry, and one skeleton facing off against you.
Yeah, now I'm feeling pretty emboldened. I'm gonna face off against this skeleton. First, I'm gonna bash it with my shield, offhanded. This is gonna be 12 to hit.
12 is going to hit.
For 1 point of damage.
Woo.
I'm going to use that to open it up so I can really stab it in the chest. And that's going to be cavity. 16 to hit.
Hits.
And 4 points of piercing damage.
Hits.
Oh, I might still have to hit this thing some more.
Oh, yeah. This it's gotten first blood. It hasn't gotten touched until now.
I'm just like,
All right. We go back to the top of the order to the skeleton facing off against you, Henry, as he readies a short sword attack and brings it down on your throat with an 18 to hit that meets and beats your armor class as you go and you get cut like right under the chin for 5 points of piercing damage.
That was heavy. Okay.
All right. BJ, it's now your turn.
Has there been any developments in the mausoleum?
They are still struggling against the restraints. You can see that the fog isn't like coming out as thick now from the ground, but it's still kind of leaking out of the grave earth.
I think I want to try to get the skeleton's attention away from Henry. So I'd like to viciously mock it again.
Perfect.
Nice.
Skeleton is going to roll a wisdom saving throw. He rolled a 10, so he's going to take that full damage. What was your vicious mockery?
If I insinuate that my dog wouldn't even like you kind of thing, but is that messy if they're humanoid or there's no dog-like creatures, right? That's not like a weird...
No, there's like rabbit people.
Okay, great. I'm in the world, would that have any racist connotations towards dog-like creatures?
No. There's there are gnolls that are like hyena creatures, but those are like categorically
Okay. I didn't want to be like offensive.
No.
Dog-like
yeah,
creatures.
That's fair.
I dig it.
But yeah, I want to insinuate that.
Like my dog wouldn't even chew on your bones.
Yeah. Roll your damage. Ooh, full damage. There we go. 4 points. As this skeleton is still standing, but it like clutches his ears a little bit. Kind of like you can see, it doesn't have eyes, but you can kind of see like a little bit of dirt comes out of one of the sockets.
Incredible. I still have that was my like main action.
Yeah.
Could I come over and just push it?
That would be an action as well. Shoving is an action.
What? And so if it's offhanded though, what does that mean?
Bardic inspiration too. You've got more bardic inspiration.
Bardic inspiration would be a bonus action. Offhand weapon, that's just a way for like saying you're like attacking with your non-dominant hand.
Okay.
So you can see that like when you do that, you don't add any modifiers to your damage roll. Like if you look at your character sheet, you'll see that your rapier has 1d8 plus 3 because it's on your primary hand. Whereas the dagger has 1d4. But whether or not, like, depending on what hand it's equipped, it gets that plus 3 or not.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
So the dagger, you can make an offhand dagger attack as a bonus action for 1d4 damage if you connect. You can also throw it from where you're at.
Let me throw it because I don't want to leave where I'm at.
Perfect. Yeah. Go ahead and roll to hit. 23 to hit. Amazing. Go ahead and roll damage.
Oh, please be more than 1.
2. We'll take it. All right.
That is what I asked for.
This skeleton is not looking too good. He is like you managed to just like sink the blade up to the hilt in the back of its cranium.
Nice.
As we pass turn now to Henry.
What's your health? How are you doing?
It's pretty low. But Henry's gonna do sort of the same sort of martial move of like batting and stabbing.
It's his go-to.
And just be like, "You're not supposed to be awake." And we'll make these attacks. Shield to hit is gonna be 17.
17 hits
for 2 points of damage.
How would you like the skeleton to crumple?
I think I like catch the edge of the shield on the lip of his jaw and just like bop his head off. And it just kind of rolls. Yeah. And then the rest of his body kind of crumples as his head rolls down the hill. And I'm like, oh, we did it. Oh my God.
Yeah. Oh, you guys are now out of combat. What would you like to do?
Hi, I'm Henry Kraigfort.
I feel like
the fourth.
I'm gonna call you Kraigfort.
Kraigfort?
Kraigfort. Yeah, nice to meet you. It's Beej.
Beej?
Mm-hmm.
I can call you Beej?
Call me Beej, BJ.
Nice. What's happening in there?
It doesn't look good.
You hear more banging.
Okay.
We have
might
to
need
go.
some help. Yeah.
Are you okay?
I've been better. Yeah. I'm
Can
a
I
little hurt.
Can I heal him?
Yeah, you can. You have one more spell slot to cast Cure Wounds with.
Let me help you out with that.
Yeah, I'm just bleeding from my leg and my other leg and my neck, I think, is bleeding. So I'm
Should I cast it?
Yeah, cast it.
My mom just got me this undershirt too. She's gonna be upset.
Let me heal
7
you.
points of healing goes
nice.
your way.
That
maybe
puts me almost in full.
Beej, you like toot on your banjo a little bit. This sweet dulcet song.
It's
Like
a tuba, thank you.
sorry, tuba.
My name is Banjo.
The name is
Play the
Banjo. The
tuba.
instrument is tuba. Great. Yeah, you guys are patched up.
Boom, boom.
You hear more of boom, boom.
Yeah, let's I might
Let's go.
Let's
Let's
go
go.
talk
Let's
to the head of
go.
the watch. And I'll start puttering off towards the village.
As you guys putter off out of the graveyard and towards the village, you hear coming back from the distance in the mausoleum. And that is where we're going to end it for today.
Oh my God!
Ooh, yeah.
Congrats.
D&D!
You dungeoned and dragoned.
Well,
You
we
did
mausoleum
it.
and zombied.
All right. Well, we are now on the other side of that fun adventure. Bailey, we're so happy we were able to pop your D&D cherry.
Yay.
Long time coming.
I would love, this is the part of the podcast where we really talk about what we just experienced and kind of how we can do it better, how it can fit into other people's games and like any other inspirations we came from it. So I guess just off the top, like Bailey, what was your experience with that session 0 and that like little mini combat?
Well, first of all, thrilled. So excited to have that actually happen. I think the thing that I was nervous about is something that I can work on. And that is I have a lot of impatience for not being fast enough, just as a human being, when I'm like, well, why don't I automatically know this? And so the buildup of each turn is something that I want to like go look at on my own and be like, okay, what does this like the D and the like the numbers and the letters and all the words and the jargon. I feel like that's the thing that I'm like, the game itself, like the fantasy idea, incredible, so much fun to like play with that. It's just a like, I feel bad about not being a smoother player. And I know that is exactly what this is for. But it is something that has also, I think, prevented me from in the past, like joining in because I didn't want to slow down anybody who like already knows all the words and be like, what is that again?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, I don't.
Well, I will say, I do think that's what's really cool about like Shard and D&D Beyond. But they're like platforms that you can use to create a character. That's what we created our character on today with Shard Tabletop. And it helps with like making die rolls easier and kind of figuring out like, oh, this thing, I can just push that button and then I know what it is. Yes, there like if that is something that you're fearing for our listening and viewing audience, there are a lot of tools you can use to make those hurdles a little bit smaller.
Yeah.
And then the other thing too is just like D&D is so much fun and everyone wants more people to play. So I think you're always in good company as a new player of people going, yeah, oh, I played like a rogue. I know what rogues can do. Or I played a bard.
Yeah.
As someone who came in, my first time was like, I want to play a druid, like high magic, a lot of spells. And that can be fun, but that also can be really hard because you have so many spells to figure out, which bards are nice because they're a bit of a mix of both.
It's a lot more improv-y than I was expecting in terms of the character building of interpersonal character relationships too. It's very fun. I guess that's not something I thought about that you get to do in this game. Which maybe is the game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about like role playing and then rolling to play. It's really.
I'll be honest, that's the first time I've heard that.
That's good.
But that's one thing that like I think that, like you're touching on something that a lot of people feels like it is like a bit like of a lot up front, like building a character. Oh my God, all these races. Oh my God, all these classes. Oh my God, all these spells. Oh my God, like what happens in each turn, which I think is like one thing that's helpful, especially for like someone that's brand new, is like just starting at level 1. Yeah. Like grow with it. Like this might not be the campaign that we play for like 20 years or whatever, but like this is the campaign.
It felt a little less, oh my God, and a little more like sea legs, kind of like, can I do this? Hello? Like, a little more just like unsure footing. Because I think I will say that's a testament to you. I felt very, you did build up the world. Like that was not something that I felt lost in any of the world building ideas. And so that I felt very comfortable in that idea. It was just more like, let me push what are my boundaries of like actual limitations of character. And that is a fun exploration of that.
I think it's really fun to, I'm not sure if there's really a way to avoid that like sea legs feeling of like this going to take some time to adjust to, but I think it's fun, especially with like backgrounds and figuring out like your character, creating as much of that like in the moment, I think is fun, and sort of building it as you go. I've also created characters where I've written like huge backstories and then I get into it and I just find that like, because a lot of that is just something I've written, and sharing it with the DM can help and to bring that stuff into the game, and like fleshing it out as you go, I think tends to create more opportunities, you know, like making Henry Kraigfort be like, oh, I live here in the village and like I'm just a nice guy who is like, oh, what's up, are you okay, was really fun, and just like my whole backstory came out of that. And one thing that I like to do with players, and we sort of did this organically, was create like other NPCs that your character knows. And like you did that with your band mates, and I did it with like the Kraigfort line. But something that I have done as a DM before is be like, who's like one like friend or ally, and who's one like enemy or someone you don't like. Fun. Just thoughts for other people, but we sort of had that in our heads as like we kind of know why we're here and where we came from and what we're looking for.
From a DMing point of view too, it was also like very helpful, like knowing that there was a band and it would just happen like in the moment. What was that first thought, best thought, like you got left behind by your band, and it's like boom, man, that's awesome. Like that gives me some stuff to play off of. Maybe there are other bands that or performers that roll through here. The fact that like the Kraigforts are people that have been in Kraigfort since it was founded in the Craig is just great stuff that I wouldn't have thought of like on my own. I had these like building blocks, right? I have this like big scope thing, but like I think there's a lot of DMs can free themselves from this idea of like, I need to have like this complete world where I know every street and alley and town before we even get started. It's like, no, I'd like go off of an idea. Like this is a homebrew world that I've been building just through like playing over the past 2 years, but like I don't know everything about it. Like I made up Kraigfort like 2 days ago. Like this was new stuff that is fleshing out the world, and now like you guys have stakes in it because you got abandoned in Kraigfort. Your whole line hails from Kraigfort.
Abandoned. That's your first single. That's your first single. And I think that's so cool. I mean, something that you had brought up, I think while we were playing, or maybe this was even before we went into the lab, was I'm here to like go along with the DM's story. And I think that's a fear that I remember my first time playing. I was like, I was playing it like you would play Skyrim of like, I want to go look at that thing. I want to go look at this thing. I want to search that thing. I'm going to pick up that thing. But it's more of like storytelling, collaborative storytelling. And the more that you can give the DM, both as a player and a DM, I found that to be helpful of like, here's something you can play with that we can like share.
What a fun muscle. I feel like I've never flexed that sort of specific, that group world building. That is really interesting.
Yeah. What is like, we had like that whole like preamble, right? Before we actually like played D&D, the whole like session 0 of it.
Super helpful.
Yeah. That was what I was wondering, is like, what's something you found helpful? What's something maybe you wish we'd touched on more?
Overall, that was, that felt more of the popping the cherry than the game playing a little bit to me, just because I was like, okay, this is more specific than I anticipated. I think in my purview of what character creation has been before is more of like a video game start thing where you just kind of rifle through, it's like I picture like in third screen where you're like getting a top, a bottom, and like all of the things in the middle. And this was much more in depth, and I really wasn't quite anticipating that. And so I feel half excited about this idea of having a character that came out of literal just back to first thought, best thought. But also I think that excites me for an idea of a campaign when you're like, okay, I know what those things are. And so I'm not picking based on, well, this looks good to me, and a little bit more if you have combination A plus B, that will give you a different kind of outcome of just not a character and also just ability and just all of that. I think you had talked about that when it was like, oh, well, you probably have the charisma, and so you focused on other things, just like BJ is like
just trying to flesh out like character. Like I like filling in gaps in the party sometimes of like, oh, we've got, a bard who's going to be probably the face, high charisma, this type of stuff. So
I thought about that 0%.
Yeah, which is good. Like I think that's, especially as a first time player, it's just like, what do I want to do? And what do I feel like excites me? For me, I like kind of filling in, like, if no one else has intelligence or wisdom, I might go into that, or, kind of playing to flesh out like what the party
plug
needs.
The holes,
Yeah. And also knowing that like, well, charisma just means I'm maybe not the most persuasive. It doesn't mean that I can't like talk a lot.
Yeah, that's true.
But kind of figuring out some of those things. But it makes me think, like, immediately for me, thinking of that, of like, oh, I come from like a long line of Kraigfort, so my first instinct is like, oh, well, maybe I am pretty charismatic. But then I'm like, well, especially because I'm thinking you're going to be very charismatic. I'm like, well, what does that look like if I'm not? Oh, well, maybe I'm just like kind of privileged and used to getting what I need or want. So I'm not very good at actually like persuading people. I'm just like, in my small town, I was good enough. But now, like in the big world, I'm just feel like a fish out of sea. Like it's
that's
picturing
really
like as
character.
we evolve. And it's
really
interesting, like these numbers and how they reflect story. I think
that's
what's always
I think that's
fun.
a little disconnect still about the numbers and how much they relate to each category. Is everything out of 20?
So in D20, the D20 is going to be like your bread and butter, like die to roll.
Okay.
That's what you roll to hit. That's what you roll to, try to do other things. That's the most common number you'll come across.
Okay.
Usually, levels are capped officially at like level 20, right? So you go from level 1 to level 20.
Even you just giving us prompts before we started playing, I feel like that was helpful. I would almost suggest that as a DM, and maybe tailoring it more for like prompts that you are also excited about in your campaign, things that you're planning to put in your campaign. But if you give those prompts to your players and see what they latch onto, I think that's a really interesting way to be like, ooh, this is what they want. Or that player specifically is into, this undead thing that I'm building. Well, maybe they should play a paladin then. Or maybe maybe I can suggest things to them, or at least tease different like missions or different encounters to them specifically because they've already expressed interest. So I thought that was really helpful. Like a thing that we did for this like test I think would work really well. And even just prompting your players to come up with ideas of, things they're excited about. The categories that you sent us were expectations, deal breakers, and desires. And we kind of went over like expectations a lot and like things we're excited about, which I think fell into desires. The one thing that we maybe didn't cover as much as explicitly were deal breakers, but we still did.
Yeah, we touched on
we
it.
just
but
didn't call it deal breakers.
Yeah. I mean, you've been at other tables before. Is there like other things that like weren't on this list that you like have come across or like have seen tackled in other session zeros?
The big ones we covered. The one that I've come across in games that I played is like dealing with mind control when your character is like being taken over by another entity. And I know for me as a player, it can be frustrating to lose agency over my character. And because it's like, well, I'm here to play a game. And then every time I'm trying to make a choice, you're telling me no because I'm being controlled by something.
Yeah.
And I've
under the effects of a spell or like a item or something.
Yeah, or like like a warlock or creature that is like controlling you or inhibiting you from making things happen. And I think that's a tricky thing to do as a DM because essentially you're saying like to a player like, well, you don't really get to play.
Yeah, give me your thing and I'll play it for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think it's like, I know for me that's sort of a deal breaker. I would say like if you're gonna do that, then like make it interesting for me as well. Like have a dream sequence that I'm in, so it's not me not making choices at all, but I'm making choices in a different environment or something like that. I was playing in a campaign with a friend of mine, Shane, who's been on the podcast, and his character was taken over, and he was just like getting to the point where he's like, I almost don't care about this character anymore because I just can't make these choices.
Right. What were they like being controlled by? Like,
it was like this, like, we didn't really get to like fully understanding the entity, but it was like this god that was living in his brain.
Oh, wow.
So it was like very like high concept.
Yeah.
And so it was challenging, but it also like affected all of our characters at different times. Yeah. And it was interesting because I'm playing another campaign now, and there was an element of that coming back, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this because it's like this
same DM, same world, or is this a different
DM, different world, but similar like mind control. Yeah. Really, I think just like loss of player agency is what it comes down to, and that's like one thing for me that I wouldn't think is like a no-go because story-wise, I'm like, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, absolutely.
But when I'm thinking about like the fun time that I have with my friends every so often, but then I don't get to make choices as my character. It's like, that's lame.
I like that question of player agency. There was a moment when we were in the combat there where Bailey, you were like, I want to use my tuba to blast him back. And I always try to do like a no but type of thing. Absolutely. Whenever there's things that like goes against the rules or like doesn't like fit into like what's going on or like the way the game is set up. How did you feel when you had those moments where you found, I guess, maybe more of like the edges of the game? You like,
I appreciate that. I like I think that's where the throw it against the wall, see what sticks kind of thing is fun to be like, well, okay, great. Then let me come up with a different solution. I feel like I haven't been in an environment in a while where you have to sort of, I don't know if I've ever been in this specific environment where it's like deal with the situation at hand and not knowing what you can and can't do. I think honestly provides a little bit more realism to this world because there are I could not probably blow a tuba and it blast everyone back, but when there is magic, finding that I don't want to use boundary for magic because I feel like boundary is for other things, but the limitations of magic and that kind of figuring out where those are and aren't, I think is part of the exploration of the world. So it felt totally good to be told no, because then it made me think of something else.
Yeah. And I think for like a lot of like DMs too, when you are coming up against those situations, it's like the way you say it goes a long way. If I just been like, no, you can't do that with your tuba.
You didn't chastise me for having the brilliant idea of using
it was tuba. A lovely idea. It was so good.
It's the balancing of like taking the idea and finding the best way to process it through the like programming of the game.
I will say what was interesting having a discussion with you guys before we actually played about boundaries and stuff, and then finding myself in a situation where it actually, I think it's very important. I did not expect those boundaries because I don't think I really understood the idea of if I am just coming up with things, that is a weird sort of vulnerable, like, can I do this? And being told no, it like depending on how you as a DM like speak to that. I totally now on the flip side understand how all those boundaries super important. Also how that would depending on what character headspace you're in or just like literal physical playing headspace, like being told no is a weird feeling in a game that is like it is made up where you're like, well, fuck you, you know, but it like I think that you had struck a great balance of doing that. And also I think that was not an issue because of the conversation that we did have before. Like I did not feel like put out or put upon by this idea of having that.
Yeah, I think that comment's really great because like I feel like a lot of people. I mean, I was even like that when I first started hearing about like safety tools and like stuff like that. It was like in session zeros, it was like we'll just figure it out at the table. And I did make a mistake one time. Like I ran a game for some folks and I skipped over my little safety tool spiel that I usually do, and we got into some topics that people did not enjoy talking about, and I hadn't presented the tools to the table to know how we would handle these problems. And so it became like a thing afterwards where I felt so bad because like it's like what Michael was saying is like you're setting aside 4 hours of your time like with other people who are also setting aside that time to do a thing, and then you go and like, you know, and then boom, you're playing the game of like a thing you don't want to play. Like I've learned the hard way the value of having these safety tools and having these conversations beforehand, because you're right, it is a super vulnerable space you're heading into when you're being told it's this magical world, you can do anything. Yeah, like, and you're supposed to make it up as you go along. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but you're also putting ideas out there in front of other people, and you hope that they will latch on to them. And if there are topics you can avoid, to avoid, because people have set that boundary.
How often would you say that comes up? In playing games, like, do you ever? I feel like I don't want you to gossip about all the games you've played, but like that emotional sort of social dynamic is something that I really did not consider. That how often does that like come up in terms of like somebody who's trying really hard to maybe like I feel like this is the kind of thing where like somebody might try really hard to be the funny one, and like that's kind of hard to like navigate those sort of personality, not just like the person as the character, but like the people who are playing.
Michael, I don't know.
Well, I think I think there's a certain aspect of like what is actually happening in game, and then what is like people around the table just like blowing off steam and like being funny in the moment. As far as like that dynamic of like, I'm just here to make jokes. Yeah, you can kind of, I think, adjust that with like, okay, do you actually say that to the king? Okay, well now you're being arrested because you threatened the king. So there's some like in-game stuff that I think could sort of curtail, when someone's just like trying to make a joke over and over again.
Yeah.
But I think that's also like where you can afterwards like talk to them separately and say, hey, we want you to have a good time, but you are taking over the table. Yeah. And you're not allowing other people to
share the spotlight.
So we want you to be there and we want you to have a good time, but can you be more mindful of letting other people speak?
That's a really good way of phrasing that conversation too. Yeah. One time I was running a game for some clients on Start Playing Games, and this dude showed up like hammered. Ooh. Like he was like, this was all online. He had his camera off and everything. So at first I wasn't sure, it was like something else was going on or whatever. Yeah. But like overall, it became very apparent that this guy was just intoxicated out of his mind. And it really brought like the whole table down. And that was another moment, a learning moment for myself as a DM. Like if that had happened to me now, I would have been like, all right, we're going to take a quick break. You, sir, I'm going to kick you out of this, and we're going to go back, reconvene in 5 minutes with everyone who's like here to take this game seriously.
Yeah.
But I think that's like, you do have to, a lot of the times, like the solution for these interpersonal things is like talk to your players, like let them know. Like a lot of times, like these are people who you're friends with outside of the thing. So like, and it can always be a little weird when it's like you said, because it is all make believe. Like, but the stakes are what we make it, right? Like the stakes of the game are important, because if we're just throwing dice and trying to like romance zombies, right? Like that's a common trope too, is like the bard who wants to fuck everything, and like that, how that like derails like the party.
Character type.
No, yeah, I mean you nailed it. But I think it's like there's like the time and the place, right? Like are we gathering around to do a campaign where we're all funny characters going through misadventures in the countryside, or are we trying to play a game where, you know, there are a little bit more stakes. It's more grounded, it's more serious, whatever it is, you know, whatever game you want to run at your table, like run that game and you'll find people who want to play that way.
Yeah.
But having that conversation at the top.
Well, I think really, that bring it back to session 0. Going with all the same expectations.
Yeah, I had a game where it was like a pirate themed game and it was playing with a bunch of actors and it was during the pandemic. So we were all like, this is how we can express ourselves. Yeah. So it was just so intense. And there was a lot of like, you know, like, oh, this magical item, I'm going to steal it from that person. So there was a lot of that like cross player manipulation of like, I want to take something from that player and or that player's character and stuff like that. And I know my character and another character like got into a fight in character, but it definitely was like, oh, we are way too invested in this.
Yeah.
Like it
do
is
you guys
definitely
still speak,
bleeding.
or is that?
Yeah, we do. We're still great friends, but we talked about it afterwards. We're like, okay, that was dumb, right? We shouldn't do that again. Yeah. And sort of figuring out like, okay, let's figure out a story for those characters to like come back together so that we can like still enjoy the story and enjoy that fight in the story, but recognize that like that bled too far into our lives. Yeah. And we gotta like acknowledge that and come back together. And that those conversations can be hard to have. They are. Because it's like on the one side, it's like, this is a silly game where we create stories with our friends. But on the other hand, it's like, but it deals with real emotions when you're playing, especially when you're really committed.
Yeah. Like you're investing time that you're not getting back at playing the game.
I'll never get my time in Kraigfort.
Any other like last minute thoughts as we wrap up here about like session 0? One thing I will say, kind of just touching back on the player agency thing, when you wanted to pick his character up, that's a moment I've had before. And like what I always like to do is like, does your character want to be picked up? Because especially like when you're playing like a halfling or a gnome or a dwarf,
that does come with
everyone wants to pick you up. Like, and I've never been a significantly short person, but I imagine like that can be a thing for someone. That can be a line. It's like, I don't want you picking up my character without my consent. I don't want you throwing me into the enemy unless I say so, like whatever it is. And so in that moment, I'm glad I've experienced that before and was able to be like, hey, Michael, do you want to be picked up? And then you colored it in a way that was like made sense for the given circumstances of that encounter. And I also think that people should have at least 3 rounds of combat at the end of every session 0, because you're doing a lot of like reading and dice work and math. And it's nice to just be able to like put that into practice at the end of a session 0.
Yeah,
that was really
like
fun.
Connect the theory with
like let's immediately put it into play.
Yes.
And then this can be a jumping off point for whatever the campaign is.
So are we going to visit these characters again? BJ, Banjo, and
we might.
We would love
Kraigfort.
to. We don't have a plan to at this time, but we would love to, because BJ Banjo is a
hasn't
lovely
fallen
character.
in love yet.
Yeah.
They're so lonely.
But I mean, you can use this character for like the next campaign you play in or whatever it is. Yeah.
And hasn't beat his.
Maybe I'll never make another character ever again. Maybe this was it for me.
Characters die, Bailey. Characters will
BJ
die.
will live on.
He just retires at like level 5. It's like, you know what? I'm good.
I actually am making a decent living here in Kraigfort. Maybe I'll just be the local tuba player. Yeah.
Every town needs a tuba player.
Michael, any closing thoughts?
Just thanks for joining us, Bailey.
Yeah.
Pleasure.
Anything you want to plug?
Yes, myself. And just love to plug myself.
Plug yourself. All right.
Plug yourself.
Woo! Bailey Savage. I am on the TikTok. I'm Bale Savage. On Once Upon a Bailey on the gram. My website is baileysavage.com. And if anybody wants me to do anything ever, I'm available.
Well, that's fantastic. Well, we loved having you. Hopefully we'll have you back, and maybe we'll see BJ Banjo in the future.
Yeah.
And
you see him every time you look at your logo. So.
Yeah. And thank you all for tuning in and listening, and we will see you next time on Dungeon Busters.
Bust you later.
Bust that dungeon.
Thanks for scrolling into this episode of Dungeon Busters. Did you get inspiration from today's experiment? Then consider leaving us a review on your podcast platform of choice.
Did we miss something? Would you have done it differently? Let us know on social media at Dungeon Busters Pod. That's DNGN Busters Pod.
You can follow me on socials at Michael_C_Hyatt.
And you can find me, Diego, on my website, foreverdm.xyz.
Thank you to Peter Gertez for our cover art. Our intro music is by Artel Music.
Produced and edited by Michael C. Hyatt and Diego F. Salinas.